Alright, so, for those who remember, I once did like a series of videos talking about original villains I did for cartoon shows such as Stormhawks and My Little Pony and Adventure Time and a few others. And I have another one in the another one I'm gonna talk about later on, not like right after this video, featuring the Avatar characters that I created. But anywho, let's talk. Today I'm going to talk about my Gravity Falls original villains that I created. And boy, did I create some monsters in this one. I seriously kind of went overboard with the monsters in this one. First, let's begin with LOL. LOL is his name probably doesn't sound very threatening, but when you first hear his backstory, LOL is a techno-demon. He is a demon born of technology. And what he is, he's pretty much, he was born from all the festering hate, on the internet. You know how you find, like, all these negative comments or photos of something. And the person that creates this monster, by accident, is Mabel. After, Mabel learns that Pacifica said some horrible things on the internet about her, and it got loose in the town, Mabel made up all these horrendous lies that she just thought of, and that energy in there was so negative that it poured in and mixed with everything else that you see in the internet. It pours and manifests itself into an actual techno-demon. It makes an actual demon. And from that, LOL is an acronym, the Lord of Lies. See? So, but he goes by LOL for short. LOL pretty much went on a rampage. He pretty much manipulated the internet into basically making everyone in the town hate each other. Like, he spread all these rumors and lies through the internet and made all these just horrendous ideas and theories about each town member and turned them on each other. He turned everyone against one another. But, however, he said nothing but nice things about Mabel and inevitably turned the whole town on Mabel as well. Even Dipper was against her, because even he was having trouble believing this thing was real. And he was kind of like Technus. And the only way how Mabel was able to stop him, yes, it was up to Mabel to stop LOL, was she had to, it was kind of a cop-out. She had to apologize and actually, trap this thing on a USB drive. She literally trapped LOL on a USB drive and hid him away. I know, kind of a cop-out, but I couldn't think my way out of this one cleverly, but I figured that'd be the best way to stop it. So that's just a little bit about LOL. Another villain that I created was Geppetto. Now, Geppetto is... I did kind of base this off of a combination of the Riddler and the villain Geppetto in Fables. Geppetto is actually a code name for a man who, literally like his name, is a puppet master. This guy, Geppetto's a code name, and he's a puppet master. Not in the sense that he controls puppets, but the whole world is his puppet. Everyone around him, he manipulates them like his puppets. He manipulates a situation to have people work for him, even when they don't even know it. As like he once said, everyone is attached to my strings, and I'm the one pulling. And this villain was more like to be Dipper's Moriarty. This guy manipulated all of Gravity Falls, and I kind of even let it rumor around that he had a lot more control around the world than he did. This guy could manipulate the cops, the federal government, everyone. That he could manipulate them and not even lift a finger. All he did was sit in his chair from all these different computers that had cameras and computers they set up all over the United States and even some around the world, and he could manipulate everyone to working for him without them even knowing it. So that was kind of the thing. The other thing that made him, interesting is that I made him Robbie's father. Yes, this guy was meant to be Robbie's father that I made. And even Robbie didn't like this guy. He didn't even know who his father was, and Geppetto wanted him to be the next, to take on his mantle. So what does a father do to get his son to work for him? He bribes him, pretty much. You send him good things. If you're without telling him, he loves him. He was the one who manipulated Wendy into dating Robbie without her even knowing it. He also manipulated the gnomes to kidnap Mabel because he kind of figured out, yeah, this 12-year-old boy, he's going to be a problem. So Geppetto was pretty much a very violent character, and Robbie actually met Geppetto in the story that I made called, I think it was called Puppet, the Puppet Master. And these stories I never really finished or posted. These are just stuff I like to talk about, by the way. And when Robbie confronted Geppetto, he said, what kind of father does that to somebody? But however, he kind of, when he thought it over, he's like, yeah, you gave me everything you wanted, I'll join you. But sadly, though, it didn't end well for Robbie and Geppetto. You see, my version of Dipper goes a little darker. He's kind of like the Sylvester McCoy era Doctor, who's, willing, he's willing to pull all the strings and do what needs to be necessary. So, what did he do? He basically rerouted when he found out who Geppetto was, and he actually manipulated Robbie into finding Geppetto for him, and through that, Dipper actually rerouted all of his computers and cameras and had them all on him, saying, everyone knows you now, everyone knows that, all the strings are cut. And that drove him, because this guy was Geppetto was a total control freak. He was a guy who was so obsessed with controlling every little aspect to work in his favor that it broke him. He pulled a gun out of his mouth and blew his own brains out. And as for Robbie, well, let's just say he tried his best to be the next Geppetto, but Dipper put an end to that real quickly. And by real quickly, I mean he trapped him in the house and blew it up. Yeah. I told you my version of Dipper's a little darker. Let's see, what's another good one? Oh! Another one that I created was a villain called Proteus. Proteus he's kind of like Kang. He's kind of like Kang. Proteus is a conqueror from the far future. He is what is known as Proteus the Time Conqueror. And he rules the far future. But however, his wife Andromeda is, she's dying of some kind of rare disease that could never be cured. There was a disease, there used to be medicine, but that disease was thought to have died out, so there wasn't any need for this medicine. That disease in question was pneumonia. And pneumonia was thought to be cured in the far future. In the far future, pneumonia is supposed to be cured, but there wasn't, since the disease was thought to be extinct, there wasn't any need for the cure. And over time, people forgot about how to make it. And when Andromeda came down with pneumonia, everyone just freaked out. And especially Proteus. And when he found out, the past still has a cure, he took it, rather than do the sensible thing and go send an agent to find a cure for pneumonia, he decided, you know what? Fuck it. I want to control all points of time, past, present, and future. So, he does the most outlandish thing, and yes, I know, this is my character, and I made him do the most outlandish thing. He considered, I'm the Time Conqueror. I've put myself in multiple timelines to rule certain points of time. In one of his timelines, he's known as King Arthur. In another, he's General Patton in World War II. In another part of time, he was known as, he was actually George Washington. In another timeline, he was, I'm trying to remember, he was King Richard. He was so many other people, historical figures in time, and he had all these multiple timelines. Multiple eras in time, giving him, secret control over everything. And when Proteus decided to conquer a certain point of time, Gravity Falls, the year 2013, he went all out. He launched a full-on assault with an armada from the future, and he started at Gravity Falls knowing that one of his versions of himself, the original self, was there. And he kind of figured, you know what? I might as well, meet myself. I haven't been able to meet myself in these certain points in time, so might as well start now. And can anyone guess who Proteus really is? Yep. Dipper is Proteus. And Andromeda is Wendy. Now, the reason why he went by the identity of Proteus was because he said, and I quote, "No one is going to take Emperor Dipper seriously." So he changed his name to Proteus, and that name kind of stuck, as well as with Wendy, she went by the identity of Andromeda. The two pretty much in the far distant in the past, and very close to Dipper's timeline, that Proteus, Dipper discovers a crashed alien spaceship, and with the technology inside, this alien ship was a warship. He pretty much reactivates these security robots and begins, believing he can fix the world. But however, as time goes on, he kind of realizes, I kind of need to take control of everything. The world can't fix itself without my guidance. So he doesn't really go power mad per se, but with it, he also finds in that warship a device that can, leap through time. But it's kind of damaged. However, he then finds Blendin Blandin, if anyone remembers the Time Traveler's Pig, and he forces Blendin to fix it for him, and he kind of adds his own technology, his own time machine technology to it. So, inevitably, he becomes Proteus after, his wedding with Wendy. And the two pretty much become as Proteus calls it, the Adam and Eve of the 22nd century. So that's kind of what they called them. They pretty much established that. Proteus pretty much establishes really quick when he comes to the past. He discovers that this is before I find the alien warship, and Dipper, kind of understanding the laws of time, is like, well, if you're me from the future, wouldn't this cause a paradox? And in response, Proteus says, no, because I was kind of destined to meet you. This is kind of a fixed point in history. I was destined to meet you on the grounds of me meeting you was going to spark you to find that warship later on, in a few years from now, and start your global conquest. So, that was just a bit about Proteus. And was he defeated? Sadly, no. Dipper tried to stop himself from becoming Proteus, but then at the end of the story, he kind of gives up on it. And through it, even Mabel's like, you can't really stop time. You tried your best, and you're going to inevitably become Proteus. And he finds out that he's still going to become Proteus no matter what he does. When Blendin travels to the past and says, you've done nothing. You're going to become Proteus, like it or not. It's kind of like how in Young Avengers, when Iron Lad tried to stop himself from becoming Kang the Conqueror. It's kind of like that. It's history. It's set in stone. He's going to become Proteus whether he likes it or not. So, and Proteus, I wanted to give him this cool design. Like, he wore this cybernetic armor. He had this huge Centurion-esque cape. He had this helmet that covered his whole face, and he had this sword that he called the Neo Excalibur, it looks like a sword mixed with a lightsaber. And what it could do is project these beams of energy that could just decimate like a whole chunk of town. And it's funny too, the other things the armor could do was give him the ability to levitate. He could create force fields, he could manipulate metal, he had the power of magnetism, so many different things that armor had. And he was just such a cool character. Proteus was so cool because I thought it would be so cool if Dipper would become this, almost tyrannical time-traveling monster. So, that was kind of the whole point of Proteus. But in regards to the whole story, Proteus does get a cure for pneumonia and returns back to his time, telling him, leaving with, you're never going to stop yourself from becoming me. Deal with it. And to get a case in point, he also kills Robbie. He kills the sheriff and deputy, Blubs and the other guy. I can't remember the deputy. Durlin. Yeah, Deputy Durlin. And he kills both of them because he's like, you guys fucking annoyed me when I was young. And he killed Robbie on the grounds of... you're in my way. I don't want you in my way anymore. And he